Hello and welcome back to Concept First to Mastery. So we've been making progress in our CSS Beginner tutorial. In this particular section, we want to look at typography and fonts. I know that over the previous series, I've been building some projects, explaining concepts, and some of the things I'll be also talking about today. We must have used them in one way or the other, right? But the advantage to this one is that it allows you to actually narrow down on these as against being part of a whole project, right? That will, like we've been doing before. So now you can narrow down to what fonts are, you can narrow down to what typographies are, you can narrow down to how they can be used, right? So your understanding of those concepts are very, very important. So without much ado, let's get started. All right, so this is what we are going to be doing once we've done a bit of concepts that have to do with typography and fonts, right? So yeah, without wasting time, let's just get started. I don't want this to be too long. So introduction to typography. So typography is a critical aspect of application interface design, right? So this is because it affects readability, the usability, right? And then the aesthetic appeal of your application. For instance, if you see this, right, this is neat and it's kind of elegant and it feels good and soft, right? And that is because we have a proper typography in place, right? And proper use of fonts and font weights and all that also in place, right? So you can't take that part away from building an application, especially if you're a front-end engineer, right? These things makes the difference when it comes to how your application looks, right? How easy it is for users to actually use your application and appreciate your application interface and all that, right? That's why we just need to be aware of this little basics so that you can bring these parts, right, into the bigger picture when you are building applications. All right. So just that part is just to let you know why you need to pay attention to typography, right? It's just like when you are working with Word document. Usually you want to select some fonts, right? Font family. You want to select some font weight. You want to format properly just to make sure that things looks good, right? Key concepts. So this is what this channel is all about. It's not just all about coding. It's all about knowing the concepts, why you should do what you are doing, then trying to code. If you do it that way, right, chances are that you are going to enjoy what you are doing. Font families, we are going to be looking at font family size and weights, right? We are going to be narrowing down on line height, letter spacing, test alignment and decoration, test decoration. Then we'll look at web safe fonts and custom fonts. Then last we'll look at Google Fonts integration, right? So this is just what we can cover as beginner, right? So that we don't do too much. But even this is, if you know this, right, and you know how to use it very well, you design screens like a pro, right? So font family and font family size and weight. So font families are set of fonts, right, that are grouped together based on their general appearance. So they define the style of text on your web page. So if you are used to Word document, like I've said, you'll be aware of Times New Roman, right? You'll be aware of Area. So those are font families. So usually, like I've explained, they are a set of fonts that are grouped together based on their general appearance. So when you're talking about serif now, which is one of the types of font family. So serif fonts, right, are with decorative strokes. And examples of serif fonts are, we have New Times Roman, we have Georgia, right? So these are ideal for traditional and formal design. So when you are dealing with formal articles and stuff like that, right, that's when you use New Times Roman and Georgia. Then we also have sans serif, right? These are fonts without decorative strokes. Example of font families under sans serif, right? We have Arial, we have Vertica, and other ones. So this is great for clean modern design. So if you are looking into modern design, right, something that is clean, that looks soft and cool, then sans serif font family, right, is a great option. Then we also have monospace. So these are fonts with each character, right, where each character occupies the same width. For instance, we have Korea New and all that. So often this is used for code snippet, right? For instance, if you're writing an article and you want a part of your article to be actually a code snippet, maybe actual code, right? So usually you use monospace. Then we have cursive, so fonts with flowing handwriting styles, right? Fonts with flowing handwriting styles. So what I can also do is, okay, just so that this will be, let us check Google Fonts. I'll still come back to this maybe. So I should be able to Google Fonts. I should be able to show you some of those things, right? Let me just see whether we have those stuffs here. Just see okay. So the thing is, we don't even have the fonts here. Just like when I'm explaining, you will see, I'm just trying, I knew that it might not be here, right? But I just wanted to confirm that. So these fonts here will fall under custom fonts that are not native to the browser or devices, and you still want to use, right? So I might not expect to see that here, but let me see. Can we have cursive? Cursive also falls under that. Okay, so look at this now. You can see that this looks like an aesthetic text design, right? So it's not the regular just say sans serif, right? So look at how sans serif looks. So that is what we are talking about when we say font family. So another common one, let's see. Okay, we have many fonts here. So you can see how this one looks. So you have many fonts here that you can work with. So let's just I just wanted to be sure that you understand what I'm talking about when it comes to font family and styles and all that. Then we have fantasy. So this is a decorative font used sparingly for specific designs, right? So usually you will not just use these fonts anyhow. So usually you consider what you are doing. So is it based, are you is it all about being fanciful, right? Is it all about being is it all about being fanciful? Is it all about being official, right? So depending on what the document is about, right? So if you want artistic text too, so you just search here and you look for an appropriate font that fits what you are looking into. Now look at this also. So this font is different from the ones that I've been showing you, and it's called fancy, right? So away from this, the takeaway from there is here is that we have font families, right? We have font families, and under the font family, the type of different type of font families, we have them grouped, right? Because some of them share same general appearance, and because of that, right, they are grouped under same type of families. And I've talked about serif, I've talked about sans serif, I've talked about monospace, cursive, and fancy, right? You don't really need to cram this. You just need to have a general knowledge of the fact that, okay, you have type of families, and some families are grouped under one type and all that. Some are for aesthetic design, right? Some are for official, right? Formal design. Some are for modern design, depending on what the document is addressing, right? Then talking about font size, this should be fast too. So we have different, okay, font size is usually used to measure the size of a text, right? When you say font size, you're talking about the size of a text, and there's no way you're designing, right, that you will not deal with sizes, right? So the different measurement units, we have the pixel, we have the EM, we have the rem units, and we have the percentage, right? So you need to know when to use all these. So probably I've been using them in previous projects, but we didn't really focus on the difference between them, right? So for pixel is fixed units. Pixel is a fixed unit. Like for instance, you say 16 pixel is fixed, and it's not going to adjust. It's not going to be responsive, so to say, right? So, but we also have EM and REM, right? So these two, they are relative units, right? So usually relative in the sense that they are either picking from their parent element, they are picking based on the font size of the parent element, they are picking their font size based on the parent element or based on the root element. So usually now the root element of the document, right, will be the body, right? So if it's, for instance, if you say one EM is relative to the parents, then one REM is relative to the root element. The parent element is different from the root element. So the root element might be a div, that is the direct, okay, let me just try to do something here so that this will be practical enough. All right, so let's also use subordinate to start the project that we are going to be building after this. So here, let's just say CSS typography. Then I'll just say weather app. So there is nothing in here, right? So let me just quickly open this in VS Code. All right, so this is empty. So let's just do the normal HTML. I just say index.html. All right, so let me just generate a quick boilerplate to work with. So we can just say typography weather app. So what I was talking about, right? So this is the root element now. Then it's possible that you have a div, right? And inside it, you have another nested div. Then inside there, you now have a paragraph. And here you have a text that is saying hello, right? Now, and you are saying, let's say you are, I will just use inline text here. Let's say you are saying style, inline style here. You are saying style and you are saying that font size. You are saying font size is 1 REM. So what this means is that this is relative to the root elements, right? Relative to the root elements. And this will be picking a font size relative to the root element, which is the body, right? So, but if you change it to EM, so this will be relative actually to the parent element. And the parent element here is this, right? So that is why you just need to, I need to give clarification on this. So the 1 EM is relative to the parent, 1 REM is relative to the root element. Then we also have percent, right? So relative to the parent font size. So that's what, just take note of that difference. It's up to. So if I were to do 1% here, So this will be now be relative to the font size, right? Relative to the font size of the parent elements. So that means that if the parent element is this and the font size here, right, is 12 pixel. So for instance, so this will be 1% of that 12 pixel. So this, whatever is here, whatever the font size of this is, it will be relative to what we have on this div, which is the direct parent, right, of this particular paragraph element. So because most times people just use these things without really knowing what is happening. So you can see 2em now, twice the root font size. Once you know the root font size, or you know how to identify the root element, then you get it right. Then this one is fixed, right? So we are still going to use them when I am working on the project. Then we have font weight, controls the boldness of the text. So this is pretty straightforward. So there are times that you want a thin text, you want a normal text. Usually the normal is 400 in terms of the weight value. The bold is 700. We also have bolder. So we have different shades of things. So you can see now at times instead of putting 400, you can just put normal. Instead of putting 700, you can put bold. Instead of putting, you can put bolder. So I think bolder should be 900. You can put lighter. So just to represent the value of this. So here now you can say font weight is bold, which if you hover on it, it will still default to 700. Then font weight is 700, still speaking to the same. Okay, font weight is 700 representing normal, right? So for instance now, this one that I just opened now, if I say font size, let's say font size is 1 remnant, right? Semicolon, and I'm saying font weight, so you can see the options there, right? This is what I'm saying: bold, bolder, lighter. Yeah, so those are the basic ones. Then you can pick from this 900, 800. 800 is semi-bold. This is bold, right? If you pick 900, that's like bolder. So if I were to launch this now and check on the server, open the server, so we'll see that the hello is actually very bold. So you can see the hello here, right? Very bold. If I want to increase the font size, just to make this visible, I might say instead of using 1 rem here, so I might say let's use 3 rem, right? And if I come here to be bigger, so it's bigger now, but it's relative to the root font size of the root element, right? So that's that with that. Then so let's talk about line heights, letter spacing, and text alignment and text decoration, right? So line height defines the vertical spacing between lines of text. So the advantage to this is that it adds readability. So it actually makes it easy for your users, right, to read the text on the screen. So, and anything that focuses on usability is very, very important. So best practice is that you should use unit length value. So it's not like you'll be saying 1.5 pixel. No, just 1.5, 2, right, to scale with font size. They are not, so this will allow this actually to scale with the font size since you are not setting any units to it, right? For instance, now, this might not even be, okay. This might not be just class, and inside there, I might say line height. Okay, not class, now style. So you can say line height, right? You can say line height of 2, which means that what you have here, the space between these paragraphs, right, is going to be more than the normal, right? So let's say I have all this here. So we are going to have line height of 2 as against, so can you see that there's enough space here, right? That's because of the line height. So if I were to reduce it to, that will impart if I change it to 1, right? So can you see now that things closed up a bit? So to make it even more visible, if we change to 1, change to 0.5, let's say we change to 0.5, so you can see that the line height is greatly reduced. So that way you can actually influence the readability of the text that you have. Away from line height, let's see letter spacing. So that's just spacing between one character and the next character. So it's as straightforward as that. So for instance, for this particular hello, right, if I were to say letter spacing, say I'm seeing letter spacing 2, right? So I want to use let's say 2 a.m. So can you see now? So this is what we mean by letter spacing. I just use that high value so that you understand what is going on. And depending on design tool, there are times that this is just okay, depending on what you are doing. So we also have text alignment. This is very, very important. At times you want to align text. Now take note today of this. The text alignment property is actually to align text along the horizontal line, right? So this is not going to perfectly center an element within a box. So it's just going to move the text along the horizontal, right? Not along the vertical and all that. So the options you have is left, center, right, and justify, right? So text align, you can set to justify. This will align text to both edges. So for instance, now here, I might say this one where I applied this, I might say text align. I might just say to the end, right? So that will ensure that that is moved to the end. So you can see now that this is at the end, while others still maintained their position. As simple as this is, right? There are basic things that you must know how to do very, very well. So knowing how to do all these basic things very well is what makes you stand out. Text decoration, add decoration to text, such as underline or stripe through. So text decoration is also very important, right? There are times you want to apply text decoration. For instance, now on this particular second one, I might just say text decoration property, right? I have different options. You can see dashed, dotted, double, line through, overline, solid. So I have different options here, right? So I can just say underline for now, just to show you that. So you can see that this is underlined. So you can play with this actually to try out other stuffs. Then we have the third concept now. So we've dealt with 2 already. Web safe fonts and custom fonts. Web safe fonts and custom fonts. So for web safe fonts, fonts are usually universal. These fonts are usually universal across all devices and browsers. So what this means is that they are readily available. That is the web safe fonts. They are available across devices. They are available across browsers, right? So that makes them universal and easy to use. And they're also consistent. So examples, we have Arial, we have Times New Roman, we have Korea New and all that. So the reason why you should use them is that they ensure consistency even when custom fonts are not available. Custom fonts are not everywhere, right? Right, unlike the web safe fonts that are everywhere across devices and the browsers, right? So for custom font offer more variety and branding potential. So example is when you start talking about Google fonts, right, and you want to load them, or at times you download these custom fonts and you load them yourself, you host them and you load them yourself. So they can be loaded using Google services like Google Fonts or by hosting fonts files. So as you continue to work on more projects, there are times that there will be some fonts that are just for branding, right? They are not everywhere. They are peculiar to maybe an organization just wants to use them, or we even have custom fonts online, right? But they are not like the web safe fonts. And usually you will need to load them using some services like the Google Font service or you will need to host them on in your application, right, as a file, and then load them directly. So so our focus today is just to see how we can integrate Google Fonts, which is the last thing we want to do. So, and I think I've been doing this over and over, right? So what is Google Fonts? A free library of web fonts, right, that can be easily integrated into your website. For instance, I've shown you this. You can see this fonts.google.com. Many fonts are here, right, that you can actually make use of. And I've actually shown you how to use them also. Let's just walk through this. Step to integrate Google Fonts. You have to visit the Google Fonts website, like I've just done. You have to select a font. For instance, let's say we are working with Roboto. You can search for Roboto here, right? You can just click Roboto depending on the type you're looking for. I think I have something in my cart already. So usually I might want to remove all so that it will not interfere with what I want to do. Then I can come back and just say Roboto. So you have different Roboto sans serif, Roboto condense, Roboto slab, Roboto mono. And let's say I want to use Roboto mono, right? You can click on that. You come here and you search for the different and select them. For instance, 10, right? We have 100, we have 10, 100 italics. So we have different shades of all these. At times you might just pick everything if you don't really want to go that route. So here I can just come and say get font. So once you click on get font, right, it's going to add it to your cart, right? And you'll be able to. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to get the embed, right? Because it is that code that you are given that you will need to use, right, in your application. And usually you either use the link or the at import. So if you're using the link, you just need to copy what is here straight away, right? And you add it to the head section of your website. So here now you need to come here, just come here and add that here, right? So and if you want to use the art import too, you just select this, you copy this. So if you are using it in line, that's when you need to copy the style. But if you are using it with external file, you just need to copy the import without art import without the style, right? And all you need to do is come to the usually you will have, let's say, main.css, your CSS file, and you paste it here. That's the art import being used in CSS file, right? So those are the two options that you have. And the next thing is, once you have that, you need to now use it in your code. So this is an example of how to even use it. So for instance, this one now, if I want to use it, I just copy this, right? And just come to your application. So here now, let's say I'm setting the body, right? I can just set that to this, clean up some of these things, right? I don't need this. I don't need this. So font weight, let's say I'm using 400 or normal. Font style, normal, it defaults to normal, there's no point setting that. So we are using Roboto Mono because that's the name of, that's what we have, that's the name of the font family, right? Fallback sans serif. So this sans serif, we didn't need to connect it with, like I've said, is one of the, what's it called now, generic web fonts that are available, right? That you can easily use as fallback. This one will always be available when maybe there's no internet and this is not working, right? So that's just what we have with integrating Google Fonts into our application. Then to do, so our to do is to actually build a web app interface that display the current weather app, the temperature, and a 3-day forecast, right? So this is just to allow us practice what we've looked at now. And this is going to be the highlight. So we are going to use typography, line height and letter spacing, text alignment, and decorative elements. So some of the things that we've covered are what I'm going to be attending to. All right. So let's just, I don't need to waste time on this thing. Let's just move into that quickly. So right here now, we already have what we want. I'll just remove this part because it's already in the, like this, it's already in the CSS file, right? It's already here. Then this file needs to be to be connected to the external file, external style sheet, right? So here I can just say link, right? And you just say /main.css. All right. So we can also remove this. We can remove what is inside here so that we can start working on the HTML, right, of this particular app that we want to work on. So this is the app. So we need to work on the HTML first before we start applying the style, right? So let's just quickly get that done. So let's have a div, right, that is going to hold this particular. You can see that this everything here is packaged in a div. The div is having curved edges, right? So those are the CSS that we're going to apply. There is the header section of the div. There's the current weather section of the div. There's a forecast section of the div, and there's a footer section, right? So those are the things we want to quickly construct using the HTML, right? So here I'm going to just have a div, and I'm going to give it a class of weather dash app, right? Then inside here we just have header, I say header section, and here I'm going to have header, right? So these are things that you should be used to already if you have been building along. That's why the more you build, the easier these things will become, right? And the more you'll be able to bring in your own ideas. So here we're going to have app. I'm going to call this app header, right? And inside the app header, we have stubs there. If you look at this, we have the header. So I'll use heading one for this and this paragraph text, right? So let's just quickly do that. Here we are going to have H1. And I'm going to just say weather now, right? Then under that, we have a paragraph text, and it's going to be stay updated, right? With real time weather information, right? So that's what we have with that section. Then outside the header section, we have let's just say current weather section. So that's the next section that I told you about. And here we just call it section. We use the section element, right? And here we just have class of current weather, right? And inside here, so here, this is what I'm saying, class of current weather. So we have this text, we have this, we have this, we have this, right? So let's just represent that. Let's use heading 2. So usually the best practice, like I've said, when setting up, there should be only one heading 1, and it should speak to the whole what's the whole content, the document is all about, right? So that's why we're using weather now, and we are using heading 1 there. So here should not be heading 1 again, heading 2, right? And inside there we're having current, it's a current weather. Current weather. Then under that, we just have a paragraph, right? We have a paragraph. So inside there, we have New York. So usually this will be coming from an API so that it will be dynamic, but we are not doing that yet. Class of city dash name, right? So those are the classes we'll be targeting in order to use CSS style. Then here we have the third one, we have another paragraph, and this paragraph will be for temperature. Just a class name of temperature, right? And let's just put 25 here, 25 degrees C. So there's a way we'll format this. So I'll come back to that, right? And let's also say sunny, class of condition. All right, so those are the 4 things that we needed to capture here for this section. Then for this section, which is the weather forecast, let's also quickly undo that. So let's say forecast section. Just have section also. And we just call it class of forecast, right? And here we just have heading 2 again, and this is going to be saying 3 day forecast, right? Then the next one is going to be a div, and inside that div, this is more like we have a class of, let's have a class of forecast item, right? And inside that, so again, that is pointing to this, right? We have this title, then we have this at the forecast item, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all that. So for the forecast item, we just have, let's use paragraphs, right? So we just say paragraph, and we have let's say Monday, and here we are going to give it a class of day, right? And then we are going to have forecast temperature, paragraph, and let's just say 23 degree centigrade. Here we're just going to have class of forecast temp. So another thing you should be learning here is the choice of class names, right? So I'm not just using any class name. So whoever is trying to work on this project now, with the use of the class name, they can easily relate to what you are doing. So usually the class name should relate to what the design is saying, right? Then let's also have another paragraph that will be used for the forecast condition. So we are going to say, just say partly cloudy, right? So the target for this is forecast condition. Forecast condition, right? So we are done with that first module, right? That we package into a div. So organization is very, very also important. So now let's have another div, right? So what we are doing now is also going to be similar to here. It's just like copying this. We have 3 items and saying this is the next item. So instead of using what's it called now? Monday, we are going to use Wednesday, right? And 23, let's change this to 27, right? And also the forecast temp. Let's just say, let's change this to 22. And let's just say these things doesn't really matter. So let's just say rainy. Right, so that's the second one. Then let's have a third one. So this one, let's just call this, let's say this is Friday, right? Let's say this is 27, and we just say this is sunny. All right, so that's that with that part. Then we can now talk about the footer, right? The footer section is straightforward also. Just say footer. So I've always been saying it, the way you handle your HTML is very important, because by the time you are styling, you won't have issues if you organize things very well. So here we are just going to say class of app footer, right? So, and inside there, we can just have a paragraph that says at ampersand copy, right? And just say 2025. Then, so here we can still put everything will be in a paragraph. Can just say concept first to mastery, right? And stop all rights, right? Reserved. All right, so that is all we need for the footer section. So usually that's the grade I wanted to, you will just copy it, right? So for instance, now I could just copy this and use it. All right. So yeah, so all right, so we have set up now. The HTML is done. So the next thing now is to apply the CSS, and then we'll be done. All right, so let's quickly do the general reset. So I'll name it general reset. These are things I've done over and over again, right? This universal selector, margin, let's say margin of 0, just to remove any browser defaults. Then padding 2 of 0. Then we also want box sizing to be border box. So we've taken time to explain all these things, right, in the previous sections that we've had. So for the body elements, now this is where we start using deliberately what we've learned. So we want to use Roboto. So Roboto is one of the, consider that's what I picked. Roboto Mono is what I picked actually. So Roboto, Roboto space Mono, right? So not just Roboto space Mono. Then the fallback, let's just say the fallback is sans serif. All right, so that means if this is not available, then we make use of this. So that's an example of the use of font family. Then we are setting line height for the entire content, right? We're using, let's use 1.6. So I already explained and showed you how line height we influence what we are doing, right? Then let's also put background color. Let's set background color to ash E3 E3 F2 E3 F2 then FD, right? So that we have this shade. You can see this, the background of the body, right? Then usually, I will set up the variable here so that I can reuse it. But here we can just do this. We can do things like this quickly, right? Or better still, I don't think we'll be reusing text. but no problem. Roots. So we can just say it's not even primary. I just say BG. Right, and we just copy this. So I've explained why you want to use this. It's just so that you can reuse color, right? var, you can say BG, right? Then we want color set to so let's just say dark. So our own dark is going to be ash 333, right? So I believe we might have different shades of dark. So let's just say this one is going to be 74, right? So here I can just come here and say var dark 74, right? And I've explained the advantage to this. So if I need to change these values here, I won't need to be going everywhere to change it again. I just need to change it here and to apply everywhere, right? So we want to set padding to 20 pixel. So padding here, this one is actually to the top, bottom, right, left, and yeah, bottom, right, left. I think that's that with the body section. Of course, if you come here, you don't expect to, so you can see that this has been applied and we have some padding 20 pixel, right, to this end, to the top and to the bottom. So things are looking clean, but it's not yet where we want it to be. And you can see the font family, right? It's kind of different, right? The font family is different. So all these things, like I've said, are what you do to make you build great applications. Dash app. So we have already, I'm moving to the next section now, right? And I have that class here. If you remember, weather app. So let's quickly start that. So here I'm going to have maximum width. So I want to restrict the width of that container. Maximum width to 600 pixel. So you can see the unit here now is fixed, right? If I come back here, you won't see it yet until, and this is one thing you should be aware of, because the only reason why you will see that this is already 600 in terms of width, if you set the background color, right? Let's say I set to this, you will see that. Can you see that now? So, but it's not yet at the center. So that's another thing. We need to now move to the center, right? In order to see it. I'll remove that background now. But at times you need to apply this background so that you can see things clearly, right? Then now the magic we use in moving things to the center is using margin, right? You can set auto to the top and bottom. Then left and right, you will now set auto. So auto here means that, okay, whatever is left, right, distribute it to the left and right of this container. That's what it means. So that will perfectly center this item. So can you see now that this is perfectly centered now? So the space we have to the right and left are now equally distributed, and this is staying at the center. So usually when you want to center an item after applying the fit width, that is what you do. Then we have background color of white. So here again, so that we stick to what we are doing. That's dash, I'll just say dash light, right? And this will be hash FFF. So that's white. I'm just going to come here and say var hash light, right? Let's see what we are doing. So yeah, then of course this is not close to it because you can see that this one is having some other styles to it, right? Curved edge and all that. So, but we are getting there. Here also we want border radius, those curved edges, right? Border radius, let's set it to 10 pixel, right? So when you check now, we should have that. So you can see now that the edges are curved. So you can see that the content here, this thing is padding because the content is just to the edge of the box, and you don't want that because what you have here is not like that, right? You can see that we have space between the content and all that. So, but let's move on. So after that, let's apply the box shadow, right? Box shadow of 0, 0, that is along the horizontal, 4 pixel along the vertical. Then we want 10 pixel blurriness, right? Then RGBA, so this is going to be black, right? RGBA, I'm going to use 0 here, 0 red, 0 green, 0 blue, right? And then the transparency, we are going to set to 0.1, right? So if you come back here, so you can see that this box is having a shadow, which makes it come out a bit and looks cool, right? Then let's move on to overflow of hidden, meaning that if any of the content grows outside that container, we are just going to cut it off, right? It's not going to show. So you are not going to see that effect now because the content is naturally flowing out of its containers here, right? So that's what we have there. Then we can now move to the header section of the application. So to the header section of the application, we have .app header, right? That is this class .app header here. Not current header, app header, this one, right? So for the app header, let's test align. Don't forget we talked about this also, and we have different options: to the center, to the end, to the left, to the right, justify. So test header, here we are using center, so let it go to the center. And immediately if I come here, you can see that the weather now goes to the center, right? And we also want the background color for the text edge section. Let me come here and let me see first. So this is like blue, right? So we just come here and call it light blue for now. Just say dash dash light blue, and just give it its value. That's hash 2196, then F3. Right, so we can now come back and say the background of the header section should be var light blue. And if you come here, so you can see that things are shaping out, right? So it's just this bit of principles that you apply across board. And if you know it, you'll just be happy as you are doing it, right? Because it's going to be fun to you and you'll be able to build many, many things. So color, we want to set the color to var, that should be light, which is the white. Then padding in there, we want to set it to 20 pixel to all sides, 20 pixel. So this should look good now. So can you see now? And it's clean. I don't know whether you can see the font family. This is clean. And now let's move to the next thing, right? The app header. Inside the app header, we have header 1, right? So I want to style that font family of that. I want to set it to Poppins. So I did not add Poppins to, let's say Poppins, right? I did not add Poppins to the fonts that I selected, right? But I'm going to do that now. So then the font size, let's increase it a bit. We've talked about font size. So let's also use 2.2 rem units. So this is going to be referencing the root font size. That's what this means, right? So whatever the root font size is, this is going to be 2.2 of whatever the root font size is. Then we have font weight of 600, right? So that's like semi-bold. If you also want to use, if you don't want to use this numeric value. So again, for these Poppins to work, I will need to go and select it. So the beautiful thing is that I can come here. I can come here to where I searched. So don't forget, I already have Roboto here, right? I can come here again and search for Poppins. Poppins, just click on it. And I'm going to just get everything. So now I have two items, but the thing is that it's going to combine them for me. So I won't need to render them twice. So I can just come here, copy the at import, right? You will see now that we have two combined. Can you see now? I have poppins, right? And I have roboto combined, roboto mono combined. I'll just copy this, right? And update what I have. So you can just come back up here, and update this, right? So that will now allow us to use two fonts now, Roboto and the body is using Roboto, right? But the edge section here is using Poppin. So if I come here, there should be a subtle difference, right, between the font size. So you can see now that this font size, this font family is different from what we are using here. This one is using Roboto Mono, right? This one is actually using Poppins. All right, so let's move away from that. Then dot app header, the paragraph P. So this method of selector is what we call descendant selector, right? Again, if you are not used to all this, just watch my channel, the beginning series that we had for CSS, right? You are going to find them there. So app header paragraph. Here we want to also set the font size to one rem, right? Relative to the root element font size. Then we also want to set the font weight to 300, which means it will be light. So 300 is light, right? It's not normal. Now if I come here, so that is also going to be shape. Just to confirm that this is connected, let me try something. Yeah, great. So then the current weather section. So let's work on the current weather section, which is this place. Right, let's work on that because look at what we have here. It's at the center and things are bigger, right? So here we just say dot current. I'm using the class name that I applied on the HTML dot current weather, right? Dot current weather. And we just have font family. Font family is set to okay, let's just leave that for now. Let's use the text align property so that we can move into the center, just like I showed you. Things are the center, right? Then let's also set the padding so that things we have breathing space for the content, 30 pixel to the top and bottom. So this because I'm using this shorthand, right? 30 pixel to the top and bottom, 20 pixel to the left and right. Then we also have border bottom of 1 pixel solid, right? And saying #DDD. So okay, let's just put this here. I don't know whether we use it again. Let's just have a mix. So I don't think I'm reusing this. So usually if you are not going to, if this is used once, there's no, you might not necessarily put it here, right? So let's just leave it like that. Then let's also look at what we have currently. So can you see now? So this is the border bottom with HGDD that is applied. And you can see that all these are the center already. Then let's increase the font size of the current app. Inside the current app, whether we have this H2 there, right? We are selecting it and we are saying the font family of that. In fact, let's just copy this. It's also using sans serif. It's also using Poppins, right? Then the font size, we are setting the font size to 1.8 remini. So that's like, don't forget, relative to the root element, 1.8. That will make it actually very big, right? Then we also want font weight to be semi-bold. Font weight semi-bold, let's say 600, right? Then we want the margin to the bottom. So just so that we have some space, right, to the bottom side, 10 pixel. So if you come back, so you can see that this is bigger and well well styled. So then let's come down to the city name. So city name. So the font size of the city name, let's just set it to 1.2 rem, right? And also let's set the font weight to 500, right? And then let's set the color to hash 555. All right, so you can see that this is what we targeted, and it's bigger now, right? So again, okay, let me just finish. I'll come back to that. Then we want dot temperature. So the temperature to, I think I'm still doing all this. Okay, let's just type it out. Font size of 1.2 remini. Then font weight of 500 still. 500. Then we want okay, let's use 3 here. 3 here. Then this one is 600. That's for the temperature now. Then we want margin top and bottom of 10 pixel. Left and right of 0. All right, so if you check again, so you can see that this is bigger, right? So this is telling you the importance of fonts, and you can see that this is bigger than what we have here. That's because this is very important that you see the actual current temperature, right? Then let's also start this sonning, right? I think we use dot condition as the class selector. So dot condition, we also say, let me just copy this and update the values. So here we are using 1.2. This one is going to be 400, right? And this is going to be hash 888. All right, if you check again, so you can see that this is different. The color different, the font weight, the font size, the font family, right? And it's looking good now, right? Just because of those subtle things. Then I think should be moving closer to, so dot forecast, let's say dot forecast, right? We want padding of 20 pixel all around. So I'm here now, right here. So you can see that 20 pixel here, 20 pixel here, all around. So there's space between the container itself and the content. Then we can also have, okay, let's leave this and style the what is inside the heading 2 inside heading 2 that is inside the forecast. Here we want the font family to be Poppins. Let me just copy it instead of typing all over again. All right. So here this is going to be Poppins, and font size. So you see that what we've done today, you cannot run away from it when you are designing, right? Because it's almost like you are going to just need to use it almost everywhere. Font weight of 600. Then we have margin bottom of 15 pixel, right? And then we have text align. So these are things that we've talked about. Text align of center. Let everything go to the center, right? By the time you check again, so can you see now? Day forecast. Okay, I don't think I'm supposed to have, let me check the HTML. Okay, this must be a mistake. So then we can now move to the forecast item, right? Dot forecast dash item. So inside the forecast item, we'll use display of flex. Thank God we've done that. Display of flex, automatically those items will align along the horizontal, and we have 3 divs in there. Justify content, right? We are saying space between, right? So let's see that in action. So can you see now? These are the items we have, and you can see initially they were on each other, right? Okay, let me show you again. If I were to remove this, right, they are along the vertical. So can you see what we're having now, right? But by the time you apply flex, right, things go along the horizontal, which is what we want, perfect, right? So then we want items aligned to the center, items to the center. Padding of 10 pixel, 0. So usually you will try out some of these things, right? Border bottom of 1 pixel, solid, hash DDD. So this is what I don't want to do. You see now I'm repeating hash DDD again, right? So let me just come here and do something. Let's just say light gray. I'll just say hash DDD. All right, so I can just come back here. Those places where I have hash DDD, I'll just change them to var light gray, right? Think I used hash DDD somewhere else again. Hash DDD. Okay, let me just quickly find it this way. Okay, yeah, here. All right. So then we move to dot forecast item last child, right? So these are pseudo selectors. These are some of the things we've discussed. Last child, we have 3 divs there. We are just trying to get the last div, and we are trying to say border bottom should not be applied. Border bottom of none, right? Then dot day, right? Let's also style that dot day. Now we are moving into each of the stores in there. So you can see now this is having each of these are having class of day. This one is having class of temperature. This one is having class of I think condition, right? So let's just work with that. Let me check to be sure. So class of day, forecast item, and condition. So it should be forecast. No, this cannot be forecast item. Forecast temp. So that's correct. Forecast temp. Forecast temp. Forecast temp. So let's just continue styling. Right. I think I'll pick that. So for day, we want the font size to be 1 rem. Then we want the font weight. Font weight to be 500. Right. No units. Then the dot forecast temp. Dot forecast temp, we want the font size to be 1.2 rem. Then the font weight should be 600. Right. Then we also want dot forecast condition. And this is going to be font size of 1 rem. Right. Font weight font weight of 400, right? Then color of ash 555, color of ash 555, right? So I think I've used that twice now. So usually you change this also, but let's just leave it for the sake of time, right? Then finally, we'll look at dot app footer, right? And here we have text align to the center. Then we want text font size set to 0.9 rem, right? Then we want the color set to hash AAA, right? Now we want the padding of 20 pixel. 20 pixel all around. Then finally, the background color, we are setting it to hash F5, F5, F5. So I think I already gave that a variable name. Let me check. Okay, it's not there. So let's just leave it like that, right? So by the time I come in, so can you see now that we have successfully replicated what we have here, right? And it's cool, right? But typography and fonts is a great part of what we've done. And that is why I use this method of teaching. It helps you learn the concept, then quickly apply it to a particular design, right? And move on in your learning process. So I will advise you to actually do this, right? As you learn along, don't just jump the process. Don't jump the building process. Code along with me and build this. There's no way by the time we are done with CSS, you would have done a lot of projects. You'll be confident enough to move into any other project. And of course, very soon we also jump into JavaScript, right? All right, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click on the like button. That helps this content here to actually be shared to more persons, right? And a larger audience. And of course, don't forget also to click on to toggle on the notification bell so that once I have new content, you are part of those that will be alerted, right? All right, we've done much today. We continue from there in the next section. Thank you.